Author presents Back and Forth with NEVS and Sven, a program of writing rants and rebuttals.
There are quite a few workshops out there that have special methods to get you to write an entire manuscript in a weekend or in a week. And I've seen online challenges that push you to write a manuscript in an entire month. And I think all of these are fantastic methods to dislodge writer's block and get that first draft out there. Should you expect to have a manuscript that can be published after one of these workshops? Absolutely not. I only know of one writer who can write almost perfect first drafts, and that's Stephen King, or that's the rumor that has it. Then you take a writer like Donna Tartt, and it usually takes her a decade or more to write one of her publishable manuscripts. So the rest of us fall somewhere in between, but I would say most of the good writing that I read falls closer to Donna Tartt than Stephen King. I'm still a fan of Stephen King, but that guy's a machine. Do I think these workshops and challenges are useful? Absolutely, especially if you need to get into the writing groove. But I'm growing weary of authors who brag about writing books in a month or a weekend, because honestly, most of them are not successful. Few of them are, but most of them are not. I recommend taking the time to hone your craft and telling the best story necessary. True, there are plenty of readers out there who really don't discern between good writing and bad writing as long as you're feeding the genre that they want to read about. But I'm a strong proponent of trying to be the best writer you can be, and I try to write a better book every time I sit down and write a new manuscript. I'm going to tell you a little story. A few years back, I was at the Los Angeles Times book fair. I was sitting next to a writer who told me he had written his book during a 3-day weekend. I picked up his book, and the font was huge, and it was like 70 pages. The subject was self-help for teenagers, and this guy had no medical or psychological background. He just had an idea and crapped it out over his work week intermission. He told me the original manuscript was roughly 45,000 words, and he was selling it for $19.99. The book I was selling took me 3,000 hours to write, spread out over 9 years. It was roughly 100,000 words and had gone through a dozen drafts, beta readers, editors, and I did everything I could to tell the best story possible. Guess who sold more books? He did. Mainly because I had been accidentally placed in the kids sections of the fair, but also because his book was skinny, light, and seemed like a good idea to parents who were having trouble communicating with the teens. So in his case, his marketing was just right, and the book sold, even though the peanut butter between the pages was recycled. Know what I mean? Of all the books I have purchased where the writer said he or she wrote it in a month or less, they have all been crap. Now, granted, they were all self-published, so the ones that were written at lightning speed and published by the Big Five might be better, but I assume that's because they went through an editor. Bottom line, if you're somebody who sees writing as a get-rich-quick scheme and you're into pushing pages out like some pimp dealing $1.50 hose, then I got 2 birds who would like to say hi. You're pissing in the pool. You're the reason why good writers can't sell books out there, because you're giving indie publishing a bad name. You're the reason why the Big Five still look down on self-publishing. You're the reason there are 2 million books on Amazon, most of which don't qualify as manure. So do us all a favor, keep your turds in your own toilet and stop using the public well. Understand, this is a PSA. You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Hey, I kissed your mother with this mouth, and then she had you. And she said you were the poster child for pro-choice.
You know, I still think writing a manuscript in a compressed amount of time is a good idea, but tell us what you think.